Hello, citizens of YouTube land.
Hey,
It's your president and your VP. And we're back, finally, after all this time, with more
Sprite, zero sugar. Spider-Man Life Theft.
comic book reviews. Turkey.
That it was supposed to be an improvised joke. Come on.
Okay. This time it's going to be Amazing Spider-Man Life Theft Parts 1, 2. See that, guys? Pretty cool, huh?
Here.
And 3. The finale. Now, Part 1 is Amazing Spider-Man 386 from February 1994.
Then there was Spider-Man Life Theft Part 2, which was number 387. Amazing Spider-Man number 387. And then there was Spider-Man Life Theft Part 3, the final chapter. And this was Spider-Man number 388.
So, in Amazing Spider-Man 387 here, Part 1, the Vulture has escaped from Riker's Island via some improvised electromagnetic pulse thingies that he devised by acquiring spare radio components from the prison workshop. And he also builds himself a makeshift hang glider. Just go with it, guys. And he flies the coop out of Riker's Island onto a boat where they take him to a secret hideout where he can get his Vulture gear. He then, meanwhile, Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, is dealing with some issues involving his Aunt May and his parents, who had recently come back from being presumed dead for over 20 years. So that's where we're at in the Spider-Man timeline, guys. And his Aunt May is incredibly suspicious of his parents. And he doesn't see it. So he begins to think that his aunt has Alzheimer's, which isn't the case. So the Vulture then is later in the same story, in the same issue, has made contact with Ashley Martinez, who has developed a machine called the Rejuvenator, and it essentially transfers life essence from one life form to another, giving them possibly the ability to cure cancer and to regenerate living tissue and all kinds of things that, well, it just isn't possible in real life at this point, but it's comic books, so just go with it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's this mysterious janitor as well who is kind of watching things as they progress. And the Vulture attacks, and Spider-Man comes in to try to save the day. But unfortunately, at the end of this issue here, guys, he uses said machine on Peter Parker. So, part 2 I should also mention that there's a side plot here, which is pretty relatable, guys, in this one here, where Mary Jane is at a mall because she's a soap opera actress. And, guys, in those days, before where we're at now with celebrities being really, really super famous like they are, and they don't necessarily need to do things like they did before, well, she was a soap opera actress, and she appeared at a mall to promote her soap opera. Well, there was an obsessed fan there who points a freaking gun at Mary Jane and threatens to kill her because she believes that her soap opera character is real. This happens.
What?
Yeah, but the police quickly subdued the lady, but it was traumatizing, and she wanted to talk to Peter about it, but Peter was now transformed into a 70-year-old man.
Wait, the Vulture's 70?
Thereabouts. He turns him into a senior citizen in the issue. However, throughout this whole thing, he's kind of dealing with the effects of old age, which is something that I'll eventually have to deal with. I'm already kind of starting there, guys, because I'm nearly 40. But he has to deal with the things that older people experience, arthritis in their bones and feeling constantly weak and tired and those kind of things. Well, unfortunately, though, for the Vulture, the effects are only temporary. So the Spider-Man regains his youth. He then decides that enough with the keeping things from people, keeping secrets from his loved ones, and he reveals to his parents that he is indeed Spider-Man. And the implication, though, is that that means that Spider-Man must die, which we pick up in the finale here. And in the finale, it is revealed that Peter's parents were indeed shape-shifting android robots, designed by the Chameleon, who was in fact the mysterious janitor in the previous 2 issues. So there's a big climactic fight which Peter defeats the Vulture, but actually has a hard time with the shape-shifting android father, because he is still clinging to that belief that he had this father that was thought long lost dead. But actually, Mary, the shape-shifting female android robot, had developed a conscience and morals and feelings somehow. And as a result, she was malfunctioning, so the shape-shifting male android was going to kill Peter, but the Mary robot then shoves an electrical wire into the back of the android robot, causing it to die. But the Vulture then takes the Juvenator, because the Chameleon speculates that it is in fact an artificial process, so it might work better on artificial life. And as a result of that, he uses the Juvenator gauntlets on Mary, transferring the artificial life process to his own. But there's a side effect. The Vulture seems to be in a zombie-like comatose state afterwards. And Peter then swears vengeance on the Chameleon and those responsible. Now, guys, in the future, we'll do follow-ups and tell you what happens next. But overall, this is a great little storyline. And I know that some people don't agree with it, but I think it's a great storyline. It's one that I had read when I was a kid, and I was so glad to find this comic book shop in Springfield. It's right here, guys.
Another comic shop.
Another comic shop.
Yeah, it wasn't even in frame. Hold on.
Another comic shop. If you're ever in the Springfield, Missouri area, it's on Kearney. Go check it out. You'll love it. It's a great little shop. The guy is a nice guy.
It's a little hole in the wall, so you might have to do a couple of double takes around to even find it.
Yeah, it is basically tucked away in a corner on the street. But yeah, guys, definitely go check that out. Shout out to another comic shop. So yeah,
guys, there's one. I do have one problem with the comic issue. This thing leads into Clone Saga
eventually, but we'll get there. A couple of more things about this one, guys, in the finale. It's a double-sized issue, okay? And I'm going to take it out for just a second out of its plastic covering and cardboard back, because I want to really show you guys the detail on the drawing here, and you can kind of run your hand across it, and it feels real nice, and it's got embossed foil stamp cover here, making it really cool. This is something that comics really don't do that much today.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a mistake not to have these really cool type of covers on them. And another thing is that this is a 3 stories in one. You've got the main story, but then there is basically what it's called Venom, The Lost Days. It's right here. And it's basically the story of Venom's first attack on Spider-Man. What led up to it. How you know, as you guys well know, most of you who have read Venom and Spider-Man, you know that Venom at first was doing like stealth sneak attacks and wasn't really making his presence known. Well, it turns out he had learned that from a combat veteran who had had a rough time. And then there's another story, guys, a cardiac story. Now, some of you guys may know who Cardiac is, and some of you may not. I will explain who Cardiac is. Cardiac is a doctor who has his heart replaced with an artificial heart, which allows him to have project certain types of powers through his skin. His skin is also artificial. Cardiac is an anti-hero, vigilante type who will kill criminals, but it bothers his conscience to do so. But he will do it. And that story that he's in also has a super mercenary by the name of Chance, who has a superpowered suit and is a compulsive gambler and wages bets on how well he's going to perform the job. So, like, if he performs a high-end burglary successful, he'll tell his employers, hey, I bet you $5,000 I can do that. And if he pulls it off, he collects his $5,000. If he ain't able to pull it off, he pays the $5,000. So there's that. And the story is that there's this technology that this guy by the name of Enos Warwick has developed, which is basically like super steroids, but they're not approved by the FDA and whatnot. So they are able to take down his operation, but not before we have a cool little fight between Cardiac and Chance. So, but yeah, guys, that was Life Theft issues, Amazing Spider-Man issues 386 through 83 through 387. Final rating for me on this is an 8 out of 10 as far as the storyline and everything like that goes. It does get bogged down a bit because it is the catalyst towards some very convoluted things that happen. But I'll leave it at that.
I thought that, hey, since we're talking about comic books, might as well show off my own that I bought at this same comic shop. It's not very interesting, but I found it very cool. It's a variant edition of a comic called Civil War and Secret Wars. This was part of Marvel's second Secret Wars event. It's this right here. It's very plain looking, but I found it really cool because it has a cardboard cover, which is something that comics don't do nowadays, and it's something that's really cool. But yeah, it has like this really cool cardboard cover on it, and it like, yeah, I feel it does. Like,
yeah, it is nice.
It has a cardboard cover, and then you get into this, and it's like, look at this very first panel right here. Like, that is some top-notch stuff. But
and you got the nice glossy finish on the papers. This is a pretty quality book in its own right.
Yeah, like I'm just looking at this and like just look on how beautiful this is. But yeah, this was part of Marvel's second Secret Wars event. It was this comic issue it was called Civil War and Secret Wars. And in case if you're wondering, the second Secret Wars event was a comic event that was basically a sequel to the first Secret Wars event that happened in the 80s. And this one actually destroyed the multiverse but then it got reincarnated again. The multiverse did, but in the process, it destroyed the Ultimate Universe and the Ultimate line of comics, except for Miles Morales, who got transferred into the 616 universe with Peter Parker. It's kind of complicated and very confusing to explain, but yeah, that's what this comic part was. It was part of the second Secret Wars event storyline.
So yeah, guys, as I said, that's that. And as always, if you have read Amazing Spider-Man: Life Theft and you think that it is the worst Spider-Man storyline of all time, well, you are actually definitely wrong on that. But
It'd
hey,
be Clone Saga.
but hey, just remember, we're just two idiots with a cell phone camera. Our opinions do not matter, except they actually do, because we have a YouTube show, except they actually don't. So, guys, having said all that,
Hold on, be quiet. But also, we have a second outro. If you have read Civil War and Secret Wars and think that it's the worst comic of all time and it should never have been made, it neither had the second Secret Wars event and it should have been made either, well, you're probably wrong about that because it's a pretty decent comic and this is also really cool even though it's plain looking. And the worst event in Marvel history would probably be Clone Saga because of how convoluted it gets. But hey,
we're just two idiots with a cell phone camera. Our opinions do not matter, except they actually do, because we have a YouTube show, except they actually don't. So, having said all that, guys, we'll see you guys next time, where we're going to start with some Christmas movies. Got a few of them to get out before Christmas Day. Also, if you guys can find the time, not necessarily saying that you need to, but if you can find the time on Christmas Day, join us a little bit later in the afternoon where we'll do our very special last video with the cell phone camera.
Shouldn't we do that in the morning where we show off the camera?
Well,
Grandma,
maybe,
or...
but we're going to be there, and we got a bunch of stuff anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, join us then on Christmas Day if you have the time. If you don't, check us out whenever. That's fine. But yeah, we're gonna have some Christmas movies for you guys very shortly. And like I said, join us on Christmas Day for that. If you can't, that's cool. We understand. Time with family is important. All of that. But hey, guys, big stuff in the future. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, just remember, peace and love from Denny and Son. Bye.